40 for Rateable Crest Titans.
The third round of the Comp Safari Interclub Championship would take our crews not far from where the season had begun, just up the road in Stone for the Martin Gallis Memorial event. A challenging course then lay ahead of the crews, and first to find out just how challenging would be Kevin Stubbs and Ian Roberts. A puncture on the opening run of the day would get worse as the course went on, eventually shredding much of the rear bodywork by the end of the run. Not ideal, but they do still lead the way after 2 runs. It wasn't plain sailing for Mike Hannock and Paul Bramley either. A small spin on the opening run would lose them a small amount of time, but nothing too major. They were, however, only 2 seconds off that lead, so that spin could be a crucial deciding moment this weekend. And talking of deciding moments, things were going well overall for Peter Roberts and Anthony Brinkman. They do reach the end of the morning with 3rd place. The time's in fact good enough for the lead, but a 30-second penalty would be preventing them from being in that top spot. Continuing the theme of a bit of bad luck up at the front, it would be an off-road moment for Warren Roper and Ken Andrews on the opening run. Backwards into the trees, in fact. Thankfully, they continue, but not after struggling to get going again and losing around 30 seconds in the process. Having suffered retirements at both the previous 2 rounds, it would be a finish that Scott Whitmore and Tim Farndon were looking for. But they were going one better, ending the morning with 5th overall, 30 seconds back from the event lead. It would be a good start to the event as well for Phil Bayliss and Lance Murphy, leading the way in Class 2 after this morning's runs, 5 seconds back from Whitmore. Jake and Alana Burgess, meanwhile, had suffered with a few mechanical gremlins on the previous events this season. But this weekend, it looked to be going to plan. 2nd in class behind Bayliss and 7th on the overall leaderboard. 2 spins on the opening run of the event would cost Stuart and Joshua Winter some valuable time this early on. Thankfully though, not too much. The pair ending the morning with 8th place overall. Not bad for some damage limitation at this early stage. For Ken Powell though, it will be 9th. 7 seconds back from Winter at this stage on the leaderboard and in the class. And rounding out the top 10 would be Dave Cotterill, 6 seconds back from Powell at this stage, but with a 15-second penalty dropping him back a few places overall and in the class. There'd be early frustration for Wyn Williams and Adrian Buller, the front diff letting go in the very first run of the day, meaning only 2-wheel drive and the pair having to call it a day. Let's take a look then at some of the positions outside of the top of our leaderboard, and it would be the lead in Class 8 for Ollie and Phil Booth. Everything going well for the pair. They end the morning with 11th place overall. Now this weekend will be the 2nd time out this season for Colin and Donna Davies, the husband and wife team back from a year away from the sport and ending the morning with 12th overall. It would be a great start to the event for Grant Mitchell-Smith as well, leading the way in Class 3 after the day's opening 2 runs. For Jason Rowlands, it will be 2nd in Class 8, another of our competitors to be suffering with a 15-second penalty, without which he could have been close to our top 10 overall leaderboard. Things were going well though for Simon and Danny Cooper. The car was running well thanks to some new parts in the turbo after the seals had gone on the last event. They end the morning 3rd in Class 2, 18th overall. This weekend would mark the first event in a new car for Tom Jones and Alice Fairbanks. Having previously raced a Land Rover before, they seemed to be getting to grips with things well. 5th in class, 20th overall for now. No problems to report for Peter Noonan. Some good times being put in, seeing him taking 2nd in his class at this stage in the event. Ben and Chris Straw, though, would be having an early wake-up call this weekend, almost rolling the car close to the start of the first run. They get the car back onto all four wheels and continue to 4th in Class 2, 27th on the leaderboard. Sam and Tom Smith, meanwhile, would start the day with a good lead in Class 7. They had over a minute's advantage in the class, so they could concentrate on the overall leaderboard too. It would be a new co-driver for Simon Lee this weekend in the form of Steve Hill. Of course, Steve usually driving himself. Despite never having done it before, it seemed to be going to plan and Simon wasn't scaring him too much. They reached the end of the morning with 5th in Class 3 as well as 32nd overall. Paul and Kyle Shaw wouldn't make it through the opening run without a bit of drama. They crash into a hedge, losing around a minute. Thankfully for them, things went more to plan on run 2. That bizarre and worrying steering issue from the previous round would return for Lewis Simon and Chris Aldridge. Thankfully, a change of steering damper would solve the problem finally, and the pair lie first in Class 4. With regular co-driver Millie Jones still not fit enough for a return, Nigel Alcock would enlist the help of Carol Shaw for round 3. They'd encounter a worrying knocking noise after a heavy landing on the course, but after some investigation, it turned out to be the co-driver's helmet tapping the hands device and amplifying the sound through the intercom. A relief, of course, but during the investigation, they would also find a couple of worn bushes that they'd need to keep an eye on. It will be a good start to the event in Class 6 for Bill Hewitson. He leads the way there with 41st on our leaderboard. This weekend would only be the second time out in the car for Martin Smith. Some new hydraulic bump stops were making all of the difference as well this weekend, 45th overall. And everything was going to plan for this pair, Jake and Simon Smith. Double driving the car and not having any issues to report this morning as they lie second in Class 7. For Mark Allard, it would be a place back on the overall leaderboard, but his fight would be in Class 6, second place in that class for now. This weekend would mark a Comp Safari debut for Bethany Bull, with Dave Moore alongside, the first time out in the car as well, which was taking a bit of getting used to. They hit a post on the opening run, but apart from that, no drama. They end the morning 49th on the leaderboard. Meanwhile, things were not going to plan at all for Tim Mangum and Dan Barron. They find out just how fast the car can go round the corners, or more to the point, how fast it can't go round the corners, rolling the car on the second run of the day, dropping down the leaderboard as a result, and needing to get the car back for a check-over ready for the afternoon runs. So with the morning complete, the leaderboard at the top here at round 3 is starting to unfold. It looks like this. On we go then to the afternoon stages, and we lose Stuart and Joshua Winter. They break the front diff on the third run of the day, having to retire as a result. And after a reasonably trouble-free morning, it would be a problem-filled afternoon for Stephen Lindop and James the Viking. They lose a tyre on run 4 and roll on run 5. Not the best way to end the event, but they do at least classify as finishers. There would also be problems for Simon Lee and Steve Hill. They lose a bolt from the steering on the fourth run of the day, having to walk back to try and find another one off another competitor. Thankfully, they do get it sorted, making it out for the final run and finishing in 47th. After rolling the car in the morning, you'd think that would be all the bad luck Tim Mangum and Dan Barron would suffer. However, run 3 would see them spin and lose more valuable time before an electrical issue would mean that they lose power steering altogether. All in all, a weekend to forget, but they do end the event with a finish. With an attrition-filled day, just the one crew left in Class 3 this weekend would mean class victory for Steve Cobbold. A good end to the event still, and in 44th place overall. Things go badly wrong though for Ollie and Phil Booth. They roll the car on the final run of the day, taking a maximum and ending the event with 43rd overall. Warren Roper and Ken Andrews wouldn't have wanted to be having their name called out so soon in our roundup, ending the event with 38th place. After a good start to the event, things would take a turn, and they get a puncture and a broken CV shaft in the afternoon runs, dropping them right down the order. The problems for Martin Smith, though, will be more of a driver error thing than a mechanical one, leaving the bonnet pins undone and having to pull over soon after the start to put it back down. No real damage done, other than to the tyres. That debut would be deemed a success for Bethany Bull and Dave Moore this weekend. A few starter motors had been used throughout the day, but apart from that, things had gone to plan. They end the event then with 8th in Class 2, 36th on the leaderboard. There'd be no issues this weekend to report at all for Jake and Simon Smith. They get to the end of the event in one piece and with 2nd place in Class 7 to show for their efforts. There's no change by the finish at the top of Class 6 though. Bill Hewitson keeping hold of that position through to the afternoon, as well as 34th overall with it. No problems to report for Nigel Alcock and Carol Shaw this afternoon. They have a good, strong run, putting more development miles on the car this time out and improving the package round by round. They take 3rd in Class 4 this weekend. 2nd in that class, though, would belong to this man, John Hewitson. A good end to the event for John. He also finishes with 27th overall. It had been a pretty successful weekend for Lewis Simon and Chris Aldridge. Meanwhile, they take the Class 4 victory, as well as 26th on the leaderboard. The car up for sale at the moment, so it will be another good result to help with that advertising. For Sam and Tom Smith, it will be the Class 7 win. A good end to the day for the pair and a good margin in the lead of that class in the standings as well. It will be 4th place in Class 2 meanwhile for Paul and Kyle Shaw. The air filter had sucked in about as much dust as it could handle for one day. Thankfully, they do get through okay to take 21st overall. Engine issues on the final run of the day would cause Peter Noonan some lost time. He does, however, end the event with 2nd in Class 3 as well as 19th place overall. Ben and Chris Straw have a good end to their event. Some minor gearbox cooling issues could have been worse, but thankfully all was okay at the end of the day, ending the event with 3rd in Class 2. After coming across a rolled car on the course, it would be a final lap rerun for Simon and Alex Cooper, something that they didn't like to do as it generally meant problems, and this weekend, well, it was no different, snapping a shaft on their final run of the day. Thankfully, they get through with 2nd place in Class 2 to show for their efforts. Tom Jones and Alice Fairbanks hadn't been looking at the times all day, but they reached the end of the event happy with how things had gone. They actually end the event with 3rd in Class 8 as well as 12th on the leaderboard. 2nd place in that class would belong to Ian and Dan Gibbons. The fight was about as close as it could possibly be, ending the event with just a single second separating them in the class and overall results. We move on then to our top 10, and it would be Grant Mitchell-Smith leading the way still in Class 3 from that 10th place overall. Things were close here in the top 10. Colin and Donna Davies had been running a new engine in on the previous round. So this weekend, they could push, and it worked. They reached the end of the event with 7th in their class, but perhaps more importantly, 9th place overall. It would be a class victory, though, for Jason Rowlands here at round 3. A good end to the event, taking 8th place overall and that win in Class 8. Meanwhile, it would be a climb the right way up the results through the afternoon for Gary Bull, managing to get up as far as 7th place overall in that Metro. Bull would finish 15 seconds back from Ken Powell on the overall results, but with a 15-second penalty as well, so the results could have been a lot closer at this point of the leaderboard. Some minor overheating problems would be all Jake and Alana Burgess had to worry about. They get through the day though, and they finish with a great 5th place overall this weekend. Scott Whitmore and Tim Farndon would be glad to see the finish line of the event after not finishing this season so far. Not only do they get to the finish, but they also end the event with 4th overall and in the class. We head on to our podium finishes then, and we wouldn't really see any change. Peter Roberts and Anthony Brinkman ending the event with 3rd overall this weekend. That penalty proving to be the difference between that third place and victory. No major issues for Mike Hannock and Paul Bramley at this end of the leaderboard. The exhaust would be blowing slightly on the car, but that wasn't stopping them putting in the times to take second place once again this weekend. But that, of course, means that it's another victory this weekend for Kevin Stubbs and Ian Roberts. Early problems with the puncture could have seen things going the other way, but they get through the event with an 18-second advantage at the finish line. So confirmation then of the results from an action-packed round 3 of the Comp Safari Interclub Championship 2019.
Yeah, another good day. Started off with a puncture and then ended up damaging the car at the back. Then after that we gradually started picking the pace up and all went well.
Did you lose much time because of the puncture?
It wasn't too bad. We actually didn't lose as much as what we thought. So what damage limitation there, and then just carried on.
Here we go then, round 3 of the MRF Fiesta ST Trophy, and it took place in the forests of mid-Wales for the new look Rally Nuts stages. And once again, it will be Zach Hughes leading the cruiserway this weekend with that characteristic big grin. And indeed, still grinning, it would be a lead that Zach Hughes and Tom Wood would keep hold of throughout the morning, ending the 4th stage of the day with a 14-second advantage at the top of our leaderboard. For a hard-charging Bobby Mitchell and Shannon Turnbull, there would be nothing to report. No drama, a good, clean and tidy run over the stages for the pair, no issues, and ending the morning with 2nd position. For David Kelly and Kenny Bustard, it would be 3rd. The pair just 3 seconds back from Mitchell at this stage in the rally, so it was all to play for in the final 2 stages. Things were going well too for Elliot Stafford and Lewis Sim. They'd be a little further back on the times than our podium positions, but if they could hold on to their 4th place to the finish today, then they would be happy with that result. Some solid points towards their championship tally. Just behind Stafford on the leaderboard were Iridian Price and Stephen Brown, 5th place overall at this stage. And for Steve Ormond-Smith and Sam Coleman, it would be 6th. The Manxman with a new co-driver this weekend, complete with glittery notebook. Things were going well for the pair as well, pushing on the fast stages here in mid-Wales. A bit of frustration as we go through the leaderboard and some attrition as well. We lose Alex Hawkins and Harrison Shepherd from the results, the pair going OTL. And we'd also lose Matthew Baddeley and Phil Kenny. Their reason for retirement, the speed was okay, but the corner was a bit too tight. So confirmation then of the half-point leaderboard at the Rally Nuts stages. 2 more stages to go this afternoon, but make no mistake, they are long, grueling stages. On to the second half of the day then, and there wouldn't really be any change in the results. Steve Ormond-Smith and Sam Coleman reaching the end of the rally with that 6th place. For Iridian Price and Stephen Brown, nothing more to report, no change. They keep their pace in 5th. Elliot Stafford and Lewis Sim, meanwhile, get their wish for a top 4 finish today, ending the rally with that 4th position on the leaderboard, 2 minutes off the lead, not too bad. On to the podium places, then it would still be David Kelly and Kenny Bustard taking that 3rd place. They kept pace through the afternoon to miss out on 2nd by just 5 seconds. And in that 2nd place, enjoying a close fight and watching those mirrors carefully, of course, would be Bobby Mitchell and Shannon Turnbull. A puncture in the final stage would cause a few moments for the pair and some twitchy looks into those mirrors, but nothing that they couldn't handle. They had, of course, experienced worse on previous rounds. With that double puncture, of course, remember that on the Cambrian? Today wasn't half as bad, and it was a strong result. But winners this weekend were Zach Hughes and Tom Wood. A strong and professional drive to the finish sees them take victory by 39 seconds, which, in this close Fiesta ST Trophy, is a big margin. Still, a close fight for such a tough day out there in the mid-Wales forests. So confirmation then of the final results here on the Rally Nuts Stages 2019 for the MRF Fiesta ST Trophy Cruise.
Zach, another fantastic fight in the Fiesta ST Trophy. We're getting used to these days out rallying.
Yeah, no, it was really good, to be fair. All day. We've had a good afternoon as well, so we can't fault it at all.
Cars in one piece again as well. I know you like to note that.
Yeah, no scratches, so it's all right. We're all right.
So it does bode well for you as far as the championship is concerned. It's another strong result under your belt.
Yeah.
What happens now? Do you start thinking championship?
Well, I was thinking championship coming in today, to be honest. We won the first two, and it was like, do I, don't I? And I went at a pace I was comfortable with, and we've come away with another win, so I don't know now. We'll have to see.
Just imagine if you just stepped out of your comfort zone a little.
Yeah, I think I'll stick in it for now. We seem to be doing all right.
Bobby, another good day in the office. You couldn't quite catch that man over there, though.
No, we couldn't catch him all day, unfortunately. So I think our best stage result was level with them. So yeah, we left here, went for a push. I think, don't know what the times are, but I think he took 12 seconds out of us in the fifth stage, based on just kind of looking at the watches. And then that was kind of done after that. Stage 6 kind of went for a push through there. Had a really good run to about 3 miles from the end and got a puncture. So I thought we'd go for our first event down here. Well, first event in the championship with a clean run. Almost got there, didn't quite happen. But I think with the times, we'll still hold on to second. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Nevertheless, a good result and a strong haul of points to the championship.
Yeah, obviously the championship was quite good. It's been a lot of fun today as well. It was nice driving the stages. It's been really fun.
Got to remember, that's why we do it at the end of the day.
Exactly. So
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
The Rally Nuts stages would, of course, be the next round of the R2 Cup for our 2018 winners in their prize drive. And things were going well for the Castrol pair to start the event. Sadly, though, a spin on the third stage of the morning would see them drop down the leaderboard a little. Despite pushing hard, though, worse was still to come in the afternoon. Let's call it character building. They get caught out on a bump in the final stage of the day, putting the car into a ditch within the final mile of the end of the stage. A disappointing end, but they had plenty of positives to take away from this weekend into the next round. Lots of learning done, and the car will live to fight another day. The Plains Rally in a few weeks' time is where we'll see them next.
Proof then here at the Rally Nuts Stages Rally, if it were needed, that the Fiesta ST Trophy is a cracking way to go rallying. Close competition and a way to keep these cars competitive and running in a one-make series. Hats off to the organisers, because those guys in those Fiestas are clearly having a lot of fun, and they'll be having more of that next time out, so we'll see you then.
Here, 40 for rateable crest Titans.